"No man marries a fat girl, sir," she told a blind date. The CEO tycoon smiled. "Let's show them all wrong." The cafe was hidden on the corner of a verdant street in Portland, where vines wrapped around the windows like lazy cats, and the aroma of roasted beans wafted through the cracked wooden door. Inside, the room was dark and golden, illuminated by mismatched lamps and the late morning sun on dust in its beams. Wooden chairs on worn floors scraped, and old records played just loud enough to be interesting. Lena Bergstrom pushed on the door, entered, and already wished she had not arrived so early. She was 26, with pale blonde curls loosely pinned into a half-up bun and soft features some called classic, and others less charitably overlooked altogether. Her body was full, noticeably round under her retro blue dress, the kind with buttons that always pulled a little when she sat down. She readjusted her oversized cardigan, more from habit than from modesty, and looked over the cafe packed. Of course, Saturdays in Portland were perfect for restaurants like this one. She spotted an available table in the back, let her canvas tote thud onto it, and breathed deeply. Her hands toyed with the sugar packets on the table as she glanced at her phone for the umpteenth time. Nothing new, nothing from the dating app, no trace of the man her best friend had dared her to go out with. Her heart was a mixture of fear and something far worse. Hope. She sat down. A fraction of a second of silence. Then the chair's left leg collapsed with a crack, and Lena fell over sideways in a graceless whirl of curls, fabric, and utter disbelief. The cafe came to a halt. Talk trailed off in the middle of sentences. A spoon fell over. Someone released a tiny gasp. Lena, humiliated, gazed at the ceiling for half a second, then burst out laughing, too loudly. "Guess I missed leg day," said to no one in particular, hauling herself up with as much dignity as a human being could manage after such a spectacle. Her cheeks flamed red as she placed the shattered chair back on its legs, and attempted to make out that she had not just rushed into a public floor. That was when she realized footsteps were coming her way. "Is this seat taken?" a soft male voice inquired. Lena spun around. The man standing next to her was tall, but not in an imposing way. He had a slate gray sweater on and dark wash jeans, and his dark hair was a little windblown. There was a relaxed solidity in his stance, like a man who had made up his mind years ago not to worry about things he couldn't control. "That's the chair's fault," he said, pulling out the chair next to her. "But if it helps, I've broken 2 umbrellas and a drone this week." She blinked. He smiled. She smirked, then sighed. "You must be Elias." He nodded, and before he could say anything else, she said it quickly, automatic, like yanking a rip cord. "Don't try to soothe me. I already know how it ends. No one gets married to a fat girl, sir." The words sat there like a slow-moving bruise. Elias did not wince. He did not avert his eyes. He just tilted his head a little, then said with a half-smile, "Then let's prove them all wrong." Starting with another chair. Without ceremony, he stood, looked around the cafe, and came back a minute later with a heavier chair, one that did not creak or wobble. He set it behind her softly and waited. Lena sat down once more slowly this time. The new chair did not give. Elias pulled out his chair and sat down with her, as if they had both just shown up at the same table at the same time, as if nothing at all had occurred, as if she hadn't just collapsed onto the floor or exposed a fresh truth like a wound swathed in humor. And for the first time that morning, Lena breathed without expecting to get hurt. In the background, the cafe buzzed back into gear. People started speaking again. Lattes steamed into mugs, and nobody glanced twice anymore. But Lena did sense something change, not only in the chair under her, but in the space between them. Elias's response hadn't eliminated the moment. It had kept it intact, then provided a place to sit with it. And perhaps, she considered, that was the start of something worthwhile remaining for. The new chair did not move under Lena as she shifted her weight toward it, trying it out like a tired animal. Elias sat opposite her, easy, forearms resting on the table, a small smile pulling at the edge of his mouth as if he had forever. She looked about the cafe. No one was staring anymore. The storm had blown by. "Thanks for the rescue," said, "and for the chair diplomacy." "You're welcome," he said, and held back. Although technically the chair was the actual traitor, she laughed sincerely this time. Her fingers grasped the menu, more or less something to play with her hands. She glanced over the rim of it. So smart, Holmes, huh? That's your thing. Elias nodded. I build houses that sense when you're cold, lock up at night, and greet your coffee pot in the morning. Lena's eyebrow shot up. Sounds like being on a date, only the house really listens. Just so, he replied, which may be why I'm more competent with houses than with humans. There was a silence. Lena stared at him over the rim of her coffee cup, then in a softer tone asked, then why do this? Why sign up for a blind date? My sister had signed me up, he confessed. She had said, I've been talking to thermostats more than humans these days. Lena smiled again, the tension from her shoulders relaxing. Relatable. My best friend threatens to take away my Wi-Fi if I don't get out there. She took a sip of her drink, some lavender honey latte that was like hope wearing a caffeine cloak, and put the cup back on the table. I do not typically speak like that, she said softly. What I was saying before about Elias nodded slightly, shoving it's just. She started, then breathed out. In college I was in this improv troupe. They'd always typecast me as the comedy. One, the friend, the quirky aunt, never the romantic interest. It became this in psych. You're the fat girl, so scream, be crazy, divert attention from the reality that you'll never be the one anyone chooses. He did not mention anything initial. From ever be one anyone initially. Only listened. And I had this crush, she went on. A man in the film studies program. I discovered he used me in a short film project as the source of comedy. Labeled me charming plus size energy. I laughed when I learned about it. Then I cried. Then I made a joke out of it because that is easier. Elias did not interrupt. He did not hurry to reassure her or deny her hurt or tell the usual things. You're lovely just the way you are, or his loss, or any of the other signpost clichés people use to slap at your bruises when they do not wish to see them. Instead, he picked up his coffee mug. He cradled it in both hands, tilted it slightly, and let it settle back onto the wooden table. The bottom wobbled just enough to create a ripple across the surface of the liquid. Sometimes the mug isn't cracked, he whispered. It's just placed on a wobbly table. Lena gazed at him, truly gazed at him, and for the first time in long time, she'd felt as though someone hadn't even attempted to repair her, but had instead promised to repair the surface underneath her. Her voice sounded subdued. That's strangely comforting. Elias smiled. Not smug, not pitying, simply kind. We tend to blame the cup a great deal, but the table counts too. She nodded. Her throat was constricted, and not due to nervousness. It was the kind of tightness that arrives when someone passes you a thought you didn't realize you had been wanting. They sat quietly for a moment. On the outside, the street hummed with the normal Saturday noises, dogs yapping, bicycles whizzing by, laughter from far away. Inside, the cafe returned to its rhythms, yet something had changed in her chest. She looked at Elias again. His focus was not on her body or her history, or any of the things people usually saw first. He was just there holding space. And maybe that was the rarest kind of attention. And in that rare quiet between strangers, Lena felt something unfamiliar flicker awake. Possibility. The second date was Elias's idea, though he had let Lena pick the time. She chose a lazy Sunday morning when the world was a little slower. He picked the location, a small used bookstore hidden between a row of stuffed flower pots in a narrow alley off Division Street. Lena showed up a few minutes ahead of time. The sun caught in her hair, now curled on purpose rather than out of necessity, and her eyes sparkled with the type of light that emanated from having been seen. She had on a cozy cardigan over jeans and H shirt that read, "Rating is rebellion." Her tote bag contained books, real books. She came armed. Elias nodded at her as he held out something in his hand. "I brought you something," he said. "Don't freak out. It's not a gift, merely a loan." It was a battered paperback. The spine had obviously been handled too well. A worn red sticker on the back said, "Poems for the ones who never quite aligned." It contained a poem that he had highlighted called, "In Praise of Things That Don't Fit in Drawers." She giggled softly. "Is this a compliment?" "It is a protest," he said, "against all the drawers that ever made you feel like you were too much." Lena swept her thumb along the rim of the page. You know you are weird, right? Often, Elias said. It keeps me employed. They strolled the aisles side by side, fingers touching dusty bindings and paper scents. She pulled out a mystery novel, whose cover was so awful that they both burst out laughing. He brandished a book on chair design with mock gravity. She showed him a shelf that read romance and said in a whisper, "My natural habitat." They then ducked into a tea shop 2 doors away, a skinny little place that smelled of citrus peel and wood smoke. They took a booth by the window. The table had uneven legs once more, but Lena did not object to this time. She accepted the unevenness as a charm. Somewhere between the second steep of jasmine tea and a pilfered bite of Elias's ginger scone, Lena said, "You know, there's this dress." Elias looked up, interested. She was twisting her bracelet on her wrist, which he had learned indicated that she was attempting to say something that caused her heartbeat funny. "I purchased it 3 years ago," she said. "It is this burgundy velvet-wrapped dress. Beautiful, but I have never worn it. Still has the tag. I thought to myself it was a gold dress, for when I lost weight, or gained confidence, or collapsed into the version of me that was permitted to wear velvet." Elias cocked his head. "Given who made velvet conditional," she blinked. "What? That you had to be of a certain figure to wear a texture?" She let out a half-sigh, half-laugh. "I guess I did. Or magazines. Or whoever makes up these silent rules about who gets to feel beautiful. Maybe." Elias said those rules were made by people trying to sell shame as motivation. She looked at him for a long moment, not smiling, not crying, just breathing something in that had long been missing. "You never say I'm pretty," she said quietly. "I do not believe that would do any good," Elias said almost as quietly. "I think it would sound like I was trying to tip a balance that never had to be constructed at all." She didn't know how to respond to that, so she just sat with it, allowing his words to settle into all the spaces her old thinking used to occupy. They finished their tea and walked a little. Outside, the air was fresh and mischievous. Leaves crunched on their feet as they strolled on a nearby path that had maple trees along its side. Then it occurred sudden and surprising. A 70-year-old woman slipped on a wet sidewalk in front of them. Elias was already in motion before Lena could move. He reached her softly, crouched next to her, and inquired as to whether she was all right. When the woman nodded, shaken but unhurt, he removed his jacket and folded it into a pad upon which she could sit and catch her breath. He did it all with the kind of calm that made it evident. This was not an act. It was simply who he was. Lena stood a few takes a step back, observing, and something shifted. Not in him, in her. She realized that she had spent most of her life trying to find people who would put up with her. But Elias did not put up with her. He coexisted alongside her without flinching. He made space. For the first time, she considered that perhaps she had been using the wrong measuring units of worth all along. As they assisted the woman to a bench nearby and waited for her granddaughter to show up the time, Elias looked at Lena. "You good?" She nodded. But deep down, she was not the same. Something had broken, but not in an adverse manner. Something was seeping out, something like faith. The offer was made in a text message. "Elias, we're trying out a new prototype this afternoon. Want to see what I actually do all day?" Lena hesitated before responding sure with a nervous emoji. It had been 2 weeks since their second date, and in that time, Elias had become both familiar and mysterious. She still did not know what made him tick, but something told her he was the kind of man who did not ask questions just to be polite. If he brought her into his world, he did. She pulled up to the office building wedged in the quieter section of the city, Portland industrial outside, but cozy and vibrant inside. Through the glass doors, she spotted brick walls, pendant lighting that was soft yellow, and planters full of real greenery. It felt less like a technology company, and more such as a refurbished greenhouse that had grown to be able to program. "Welcome to the mayhem," Elias replied, greeting her by the reception desk. He took her through the open room, where individuals reclined on bean umbrellas or fiddled at standing desks. There was a photo studio for products, a shelf-lined reading corner with uneven armchairs, and even a small corner with a potter's wheel. Clay splattered, unperturbed. "Why the wheel?" she asked, gesturing toward it. "When the mind gets stuck," he replied. The hands still remember how to move. They moved down a hallway lined with framed concept drawings, chairs, lights, adaptive furniture. "We make things that don't shut people out," Elias explained. "That's what we aim for." Lena nodded, not sure how to reply. The room felt spacious, not only aesthetically, but emotionally. It breathed with the belief that everyone belonged. He led her into a room filled with a large testing table and a number of various chair prototypes around it. One resembled a modernist sculpture with movable joints and a pressure-sensitive base. "Here it is," Elias said. "Our newest." "What is it?" "A chair that adjusts its center of gravity to whoever takes a seat. Doesn't matter your size, position, or if you shift. It shifts weight so the legs never collapse, and it lets you know if one's loose before it ever breaks." Lena blinked. "So, a clever chair." Elias leaned his head. "A just chair," she laughed. "That's your marketing." "I am brainstorming it." He motioned for her to sit on it. She looked at the chair uncertainly. A part of her wanted to say yes. Another part shouted, "Do not tempt fate in front of the hot CEO that you are maybe kind of sorta dating." He must have noticed the uncertainty. Without speaking, Elias sat in it first. The chair creaked with a soft, stable and smooth. He stood up again. "Safe," he said matter-of-factly. She rolled her eyes but smiled, advancing. As she sat, the chair moved ever so slightly. No dips, no cacks, it just held her. No apology necessary. She breathed out and noted that she had been holding her breath. "It is just a chair," Elias said softly. "But it is not. Not at all." He didn't need to say it. She knew. A young woman walked by, a tablet under one arm. She slowed down at Lena and leaned in. Hushed voice of curiosity. "Is he taking you around?" Lena nodded, surprised. The woman smiled half-heartedly as if not wanting to appear too impressed. "He does not typically bring anyone here. You must be special." She turned to walk away before Lena could utter a word. Lena settled back into the chair, her heart doing some weird little hop. Not because of special, but because she recognized for the first time in a great, while she thought she might be. Not beautiful because someone told her so. Not precious because she demonstrated it, but chosen. The kind of chosen that did not involve shrinking. Elias gave her a mug of mint tea someone had brought in. "You okay?" Lena glanced about once more. Everything in this place had been planned out with intelligence, for comfort, for integrity, for actual people, not models, not efficiency machines, humans who could be willing to breathe and stretch and make, and not destroy things when they sat down. "I am fine," she said. "Your presence is strange," he smiled. "It is mine. I get to set the rules." She took the tea, hot and minty. In the back of her mind, something had shifted once more. Not drastically, merely a gentle realignment, a soft suggestion. Perhaps the issue was never you not quite fitting the world. Perhaps the world had simply been poorly designed. The venue glistened with glass and chrome, all sleek lines and ambient lighting. A muted jazz quartet played off in the corner, half drowned in the buzz of professional networking and polite laughter. Lena hovered by the entrance, smoothing the navy satin skirt. It fit in the right places, but not overly so, curving over her waist with grace. She had purchased it 3 years before, but had yet to wear it, always holding out for the perfect opportunity, or perhaps the perfect version of herself. Too much, she had asked Elias over the phone. You might walk up in a box made of cardboard and overpower the LD walls. He had answered lightly. It hadn't helped. But now, in the middle of an event that she didn't even get, she saw that he had not said it to make her feel beautiful. He had said it because it was obvious to him. He showed up beside him, wearing an unstructured charcoal jacket and black tee. No tie, no unnecessary fuss, just Elias. "You made it," he told her, not attempting to cover his smile. "You asked me," she said, half kidding, half hysteria. "I know, nonetheless you made it." The manner in which he regarded her, without scanning, without comparing, simply being present, calmed her down. Her eyes still glided through the room. There were other women dressed in black, lipstick red, glass stilettos. Most of them appeared to know the landscape, knew whom to speak with, how to stand, how to laugh short or with hand. She held onto her clutch as if it were armor. As the evening got underway, Elias escorted her tastefully through introductions, located her a platter of bite-sized kitches, muttered dry remarks in her ear regarding jargon speeches. Whenever he walked off to shake hands, he was back by her side minutes later. Nevertheless, the eyes were there. Lena saw a woman, early 40s, beautiful in that CEO at yoga retreat manner, looking at her while passing by. Not unfriendly, not aggressive, just looking, sizing her up. The woman leaned in a little towards Elias, her voice smooth. "Is she your girlfriend?" Elias didn't blink. He smiled. Not big, not self-satisfied. Just a gentle curve of honesty. "She's Lena." The woman blinked, half hoping for more. When nothing happened, she smiled tightly and passed on. Lena looked at Elias. "What?" he asked. "Just Lena," she repeated. "Lena is sufficient," he said, then reached out, his hand scraping her shoulder as he straightened the slipping dress strap. The motion was small, careless, as if he'd done it before. Her heart pounded so hard she thought everyone else would hear. Later, they stood on the rooftop balcony for fresh air. City lights lay before them like smelted stars. Lena leaned against the railing, untouched wine glass in her hand. "So," she said, cautious with words, "why didn't you simply say yes?" Elias gazed at her, the edge of his mouth curling. "Because I am not attempting to hide something that feels right." That was all. No words, no statement, only the calm heaviness of a man who had no desire to rationalize that which made him complete. Lena gazed out at the skyline. She had been preparing herself towards a fall all night, but the fall never materialized. No punchline, no judgment, only Elias. Solid, close, quiet. And perhaps that was the thing that was breaking her open best. He did not propel her forward. He merely remained at her side long enough that she began to go on her own. The voice was from the next room, muffled but unmissable. "She was a good person, but you see how it is. People will gossip." Lena hadn't intended to eavesdrop. She had been in Elias's kitchen making herself a glass of water when he had gone outside to answer a call. The door to his home office was open. His mother's voice carried through like the pre-storm chill. She stopped mid-pour, the water sloshing gently against the lip of the glass. His reply was inaudible, but it did not matter. Her chest had already tightened, breath catching in that old familiar way. Lena stepped back from the door, careful not to make a sound. Her fingers curled around the glass, but it felt too heavy now. Or maybe her hands felt too small. She left shortly after, smiling just enough to make the farewell look ordinary. In the course of the following week, she started to disappear in bits and pieces. A missed coffee appointment, a postponed dinner, and then silence shrouded by work reasons and gentle apologies. Elias did not pursue her. He did not require explanations or send her what's wrong messages. Instead, he texted her a solitary message. "I'll be here mending chairs in case you ever need one." No pressure, no guilt. Just a silent offer to stay someplace nearby with a chair that would accommodate her if she ever decided to sit. That evening, Lena stood before her mirror. She was dressed in the same navy satin gown from the tech conference. The one she had previously dreaded would betray her softness before a crowd of angles. This time, she did not pull in at the waist. She did not glance at the light or draw in her breath. She merely gazed. The girl in the mirror was not shaking. Her arms relaxed at her sides. Her eyes were glassy, yes, but from grief, she whispered, "You are not too much." It felt like something cracked. Not her. Just the shell of herself that had grown too tight. Tears came soft and silent like steam rising off a cup. Not from sadness, but from release. It was never Elias's mother or the eyes in the crowd, or the boys in college who joked behind her back. Not anymore. The only voice still holding her hostage had been her own. Perhaps it was time to stop listening. She unwrapped the dress and placed it back in the closet. Not out of rejection, but as a vow that she would put it on again soon. But not now. Tonight she had to sit alone and stay. Not to escape, not to vanish, but to stay in the room of her own life. That small, quiet deed, remaining, had been a revolution. It was shortly after 7 when Elias opened the door to his house, and there was Lena, rain-soaked hair, curling more frantically than usual. Eyes uncertain but firm. Clumsily wrapped in brown paper and twine in her hands was a chair. Not full size, not flawless, simply large enough for one person, and obviously handcrafted. "I brought you something," she said, breathing a cloud of air into the evening. He moved aside silently, giving her room. She set the chair down carefully on his hardwood floor. The legs were a little uneven, one slanted subtly inward. The back support was a little askew, but it did stand. "I don't know if it will stay that way," she confessed, brushing sawdust from her coat. "But I made it for a person I trust." Elias glanced at the chair, then at her. He didn't question why she had constructed it or how long it took, or if she had questioned herself during each second of creating it. He just moved to it, spun around, and sat. The chair groaned, but it supported him. They both laughed, rich-bodied, windless, relieved. Lena reached up to wipe a stray tear that surprised her to see there. When the laughter had ended, Elias sat back, fingers lightly on the armrest of the chair. "My mother," he said slowly, "has invited you to dinner." Lena blinked. "After," he nodded. "After. Because I told her something." She cocked her head. "What?" Elias regarded her. Not down, not away, not with pity or with promise, just with presence. "I said to her, you do not need anyone's sanction. You do not need to fit. But I want to be with someone who no longer needs to guard herself just to be loved." Lena's breath caught. She had believed she came here tonight to give something, to share her own clumsy symbol of bravery. But here he was, greeting her right there, just as she was, not rescuing her, just being with hers. That was more important. She moved to the chair and sat next to him on the floor, her hand on his knee. No grand pronouncements, no great speeches, only the feel of wood, the sound of creaking old floorboards, and the mutual silence of two individuals who had not fled. Not because all was suddenly flawless, but because they no longer needed to be. The garden was embraced in yellow light, filtered through twining string lights and jasmine flowers. Wooden tables littered the lawn, topped with white linen, and daisies in mismatched vases. It filled the air with the scent of warm sugar and honeysuckle. The wedding was intimate, just family members, close friends, and a single dog who kept attempting to consume the flower petals. Clara, Elias's niece, danced down the aisle in a pink-toed wedding dress, flinging handfuls of rose petals as if they were confetti. Her hair was styled up in small braids, but one had already fallen out. No one cared, least of all Lena, who gazed at her with a hand on her heart. Lena was in a dress she had once vowed she would never wear, fitted soft ivory, and ill and flowing like water as she moved. Her blonde hair was clipped back loosely, a few strands falling along her cheek when she smiled. Elias waited at the end of the aisle, regarding her as though the world had paused for only long enough to allow him to breathe. The ceremony was subdued. There were no great orchestras sweeping or lengthy sermons, only a few vows spoken slowly, like truths already lived prior to ever being spoken. When the time came for Elias to speak, he took Lena's hands and gazed out at the guests, then at her. "The greatest things in life," he started, voice unshakable, "do not always fit right the first time. Some of them are clumsy, uneven, perhaps even broken at first, but then they develop, they stretch, they settle in, and when they have found their place, nothing else could ever take its place." He stopped, his eyes soft. "Lena did not belong in my world. She compelled me to build a better one." There was a still ripple through the crowd, the type of silence that is full of reverence. Then applause, soft then full. Then, after cake was consumed, a two-level treat in the form of a wooden chair, and the fairy lights started to blink slowly in the gloaming. Lena went back to her studio. She sat in the chair, the cafe chair, the chair that had once collapsed under her, fixed now, steady, refinished lovingly. She ran her hand along the armrest, sensing the wood's grain. There were imperfections still. She preferred it that way. Elias moved in behind her, still in his dress shirt, sleeves rolled up. He held a small ceramic mug, curling steam rising from it. He handed it to her in silence. She looked down. The mug was hand-thrown, not quite symmetrical, exactly hers. Etched into the words, "No one marries a fat girl." "Watch me." Lena laughed, the sound low and full. Then she sipped her tea, leaned back in the chair, and extended her free hand for his. They sat like that, quiet, whole, and finally unafraid. If this story made your heart ache in the best possible way, if it made you remember that love is not about belonging, but being looked at, then don't let it end here. Press that hype button to support, and subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories for further stories that dance with imperfection, kindness, and the quiet courage it takes to be unapologetically you. We build each tale like that lovingly crafted chair to support the weight of what counts. Watch out. Remain tender. Remain stirring.